this whole debt restructuring in Nkomo EADA, at some point, the assurance that was given Ghanaians that individual bondholders should not be concerned because there will be no haircut. You turn a Yamike Sisiano, it's affecting them. TUC for one more agitations, a exempted one more, and pensioners are one more agent at finance ministry, one more petition at the finance ministry. Opening, how do you react to all these happenings from a governance point of view?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I think my dream, and I think say the DD policy now about the Abaso Barber restructure your debt. No, first of all, it is a policy that could have been avoided. I have always said that when we went to IMF, no, IMF didn't put a gun on our neck for us to implement DDEP. What IMF did was that IMF gave us the opportunity to come to them with options of governance. So what we could have done as a nation was to say that, because of my debt levels, I am cutting down my expenditure. Because of my debt levels, I am putting a halt to some of the projects that I am doing. Because of my debt levels, I am unable to do some of the things I am doing. So it's like a personal decision.
Okay.
I mean, as an individual, when you run into debt, you can decide not to drink your expensive wine as you used to do previously. You can decide to cut down the high level your parties. So as a nation, we could have looked at all those options.
Yeah.
If you look at the 2023 budget, government is expecting to spend 191 billion Ghana cedis. A government that is willing to be to take care of its affairs will not be projecting that kind of expenditure. So I think say the DDEP could have been avoided. I mean, from the policy standpoint, I would say that we had other options to look at as a nation. I have always said that if government today were to look at its 10% of its projected expenditure, would have been saving a lot. If government were to look at, closing down some of the corruption deals that have gone through, look at the Auditor General's report. The numbers are very scary, and the money, the levels of monies that have gone down the drain. I would once again reiterate that we could have let go of the DDEP on any day. So to have our pensioners picket for about 6-7 days at the ministry is a clear demonstration that we have failed as a nation. We could have done better. And my brother, if you look at the numbers, government this year alone is expecting to pay 31 billion Ghana cedi in terms of even the principal payments. And the Republic is telling us that we are unable to pay. Just this February alone, we are told that close to about 8 billion Ghana cedis would mature for government to pay. And the government is saying that I'm unable to pay and that I want to restructure our debt. I think that the decision to even go to IMF is not born out of Sabia Yehuachiri. I think the government wants credibility. One of the reasons why the government of Ghana called IMF is not because of the 3 billion IMF wants to give us. Because clearly, if you look at the $3 billion IMF wants to give us, it's a chicken chain. It will not really impact our economy. It's kind of sharp. But the government wants the opportunity to be cleared by the international community so that, international donors, so now that Ghana is under IMF, we have become disciplined. So hence, let me give you more money. So I think the motive even going to IMF is not even clear. I have always said that the DDEP governments have not even, I'm yet to hear from the finance minister on one single motive why we are restructuring our debts. Just one single objective. Because from a policy standpoint, when a government put out a policy, I always look out for that single orientation, policy orientation that government wants to achieve with DDEP. So I want to emphasize that this whole debt restructuring, first of all, could have been avoided. And now that government is saying that we have about over 80% participation, I heard your colleague said that the government needs to come clean with us. Who are the individual and institutions that have given government the 80% participation? We may want to know, because it helps us. It helps the conversation, because if my bank, my financial institution that I have entrusted my some level of monies that I have with them, I've got to sign up on the DDEP without probably recourse me, because at the end of the day, it's a quantum of the monies that the financial institutions also have, because they have also placed monies as institutional bond holders, and these are monies that probably I have gone to put over there, or individuals may have gone to put over there, that would that has probably given them that kind of money to place over there. So it's important that we interrogate the issues. I would also want to say that I hear most of the institutional bondholders are the banks, and one of the reasons why they might probably have signed up was the Financial Stability Fund that government has indicated that it will set up. 2 weeks ago, I wrote a very expose, a very elaborate article in the Business and Financial Times on proposals that government to consider to operationalize the fund. I've always been asking, how is government even going to source funds for this fund? How are we going to operationalize? What are the modalities? What is out there for Ghanaians to look at? So I think the leaders of the financial institutions should be quizzing the Republic on some of the things, because we don't want a situation whereby eventually, now that most of them, we are told, have signed up, have shown interest, in signing up for the DDEP, and it will get to a point whereby government will say that, oh, this financial stability fund that I intended to establish, I am struggling, and that eventually the banks will struggle. If you look at the financials of most of the banks, if care is not taken, we're likely to have some banks collapse, because there's a bank that I know, I won't mention the name of the bank. You look at the balance sheet of the bank, of about 13 billion Ghana cedis, close to about 7 billion Ghana cedis of that bank's financial assets are in bonds. My brother, how can the burden of Star Banky survive it? So if care is not taken, we'll get to a point whereby some of our banks cannot even give us our deposits we've given them. The whole DDEP conversation is a very scary one. Anytime I speak about it, I get very frightened, because unya opportunity to share numbers banks, financial institutions balance sheet numbers you get very scared. Most of the mutual funds, especially the first income ones, now government is saying that I'm unable to give you these monies and I'll give it to you later. We have our pensioners who have been picketing at the ministry for quite too long. You see, I'm told that the average age of your pensioners now is 62. So it means that you could have somebody who is even 81
does
years.
He hear me?
Yes,
yes, my main question was because you say the DDEP path, you don't think it's a path and I was here kofaswo. But this is a government that won isika. Now the bonds amateur, I'm told, say February, it be amateur. Abainu onisika or the betu bonds, eka. And so what's it a mere restructured debt now? Any abano confess can one here from the Akotia?
Oh, you see, we have a government that has a particular lifestyle. Your lifestyle as a republic, you haven't changed your lifestyle. You haven't pledged yourself as a government to say that I am doing X, Y, Z. It is not in the interest of my citizens, so I am stopping. You have an oversized government that you have not come clean to us. Now, let me even take you to the budget. Apart from interest payments, are buying 8 year, which is the highest cost envelope for 2023. The second most highest air compensation to staff. That should clearly tell you that our, I mean, your fenipa within the public sector and even other areas be brave. So couldn't we have been thinking about how we can look at these areas to say that we are cutting down on our cost envelope? Than to say that somebody has given you money, like the way me know way, you giving me money to further my education. And later I come to you and say that I'm unable to give you the money. You cry and let me give it to you sometime, 20 years time. But 20 years time, probably, you may not be interested, and I would have taken advantage of you. So it's just a clear example of a government that is taking advantage of its own people. I think we can, as a republic, we can look at other ways. Other ways of doing things right than to say that we are.
So the commitment you're expecting from government, for instance, if you say that the Ministry of Railways, the other ministries, that are transport related, aviation, the Ministry of Transport, it is a minister and his deputies who are going, but the staff of that ministry will definitely have to go under a certain agency or under a ministry now. And virtually it's just about 5 or so people be a free system anymore. Anna,
they be antisa. You see, these ministries have allied agencies. They are not just 5 people. You see, if you look at the numbers, we are told that there are some of the ministries when you go only be crying, baby crying because there's no work to be done. They've bloated the list or the kind of individuals that ministry needs. So on paper, you and I could just suggest a minister and maybe probably chief director and a few others. But from what we understand, the numbers are very huge at these ministries.
Amount for with the hardships in people are going to lose their jobs. Is that what we are recommending?
Senior, you see, amount for Ejuma at the expense of the general good of you and I. Amount for Ejuma that will end that up at DDEP. And at the end of the day, isn't that better to have just 5 or 6 people, just find something else to do than to say that an 82-year-old pensioner, Nisika Akemu government is unable to give, and that this 82-year-old man could die out of depression. So let's look at this whole conversation and look at where we can deal with it. I'm even expecting that the president of Ghana should have even done a friend saying, fellow Ghanaians by now, president should have been speaking to us like the way he spoke to us during the COVID, and to have a national dialogue on where we are, because you see, where we are is extremely dangerous, where if you don't take care, your financial sector will crash. And now the financial sector is a foundation of the AABN, because business people, when they want to expand, go to these financial institutions for capital injection. Those who bring goods from China and all those places mostly depend on these banks to be able to, get their products through. Now the banks will get to a point whereby they tell the businessman that I'm unable to give you those kind of financial support because go to the insurance companies. And it's so bad even with the insurance. If we don't take care, some of them may not be able to even pay claims because you have a minimum of their financial assets in bonds. A minimum of 50% of their financial assets in bonds. The Insurance Association told us that last quarter last year, they invested close to about 40% of whatever they had raked in into bonds. So see, these things in now Becca say, Ipa mienu miensa bi and lose all jobs. That's even better. It's a better option than to say that we're collapsing some ministries, putting some agencies together and things like that. That helps us than to say that a whole financial sector that holds the economy, that puts you and I together, is going to crash. And at the end of the day, and no more dangerous. See, my brother, if we don't take care, like the way COVID-19 struck, this DDEP is another form of COVID-19. It's another form of COVID-19 where you and I will be asked to wear nose masks. because of DDEP. You and I may be told that we can't we can't congregate at our parties because of this policy. That's how best I can describe the the level that this policy is going to harm the economy. So I would say it.
The president is upbeat. So by March there, would have concluded our arrangement with the finance with the IMF. Is that a wishful, let's say, dream?
I think it's even more than a wishful dream. You see, this government sometimes, me Busami who say, is the government or is the president listening to the voice of the people? Because clearly, if you are listening to the voice of the people, you won't be that ecstatic. You won't be that excited about concluding a DDEP that is likely to threaten the livelihood of people. You won't be thinking about it. Because, I mean, there are still very outstanding issues. After you see a mobile settlement, you who say even the 80% now buying so when and indeed really is really the 80%. Is it going to stand at 80%? Is it likely to even drop even at a settlement and all that? So we are not out of the woods yet. The conversation hasn't ended. So I think government should not be too quick to say that, oh, by the end of the March, you better say, I think say you'll see a 2-year book. Government is only thinking shallow because you see, government plans are DDEP. I mean, IMF gave you a clear opportunity to present a program which you could have looked at a lot of bouquet of options, but rather you chose to pick, to implement DDEP. You could have said that IMF, I think my cost has over ballooned. So in view of that, I am going to cut down my expenditure. Clearly, you must purge yourself and be able to say that I am going to be disciplined henceforth.
Right.
So I'm considering that option than to say that I want to do a program that will take the livelihood of many Ghanaians off. I think the government, my advice to the president of the land and by extension members of his cabinet is to look at other ways of dealing with it. They should relax and let's have a national conversation because now we are here. Our debts have over ballooned. There's nothing we can do. Now let's bring a conversation to the table. Bring the opposition, bring civil society, bring you, the media, anybody that matter in governance and leadership to be able to look at the way forward and how we can get out of these woods as a republic, as a people.
Ima, anapemedo asiswa jembe na nimedi nkomo.
Mesumenda asipanya menka mo.